the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's the author of the book, The Right Way to Say Goodbye. No other than Miss Anna Murby.
Hello, Daniel.
Well,
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
welcome to Book 101, Miss Anna. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Hi, I am an author from Norwich, Connecticut. I have five kids, and two of them are teenagers now. And I have three books published and a podcast that I do weekly.
Congratulations, Miss Anna, for sharing your knowledge to the world. And we are looking for more and more and more books to come. So, the right way to say goodbye. What inspired you to write this book?
I was going through a painful divorce. I was blindsided by the divorce to begin with, and it was only 2 years, but I tried to save the marriage, but it does take two people to make that happen, and only one of us wanted to. So eventually the marriage failed. But once I got remarried, had already been writing the book before I got remarried, but once I got remarried, I finally had time to finish the book. And around 2020 is when I decided to have it published originally. I republished it again uh, last year, but yeah, my second divorce was what started the whole process of writing this book. And it's not a book about my life, it's just inspired by it a little bit. The characters, who does what is different. The man in the story is the one who's trying to save the marriage. But I really wanted to share the importance of trying to make a marriage last. And that's why I wrote it.
So, what your struggles in writing this book?
Oh, it took 5 years because of a lot of struggles. I kept trying to put what I wanted into it rather than what I said I would do, which is allow God to write the story for me. I was fighting on things that I wanted that he didn't want, so I'd hit writer's block often, and usually in one specific spot. And the main reason why was because of the location of where I was placing the story. I had it set originally in California, that's where I'm originally from. So I had it set in California, but I couldn't get past a certain hurdle. Whenever I got to a certain part, it just felt like a proverbial brick wall that I just hit. And I could not get past it until God did some working in me through a very interesting and difficult time. But I finally realized that my story in California was over, and I was now in Connecticut, which is where I live now. And that is my new life. And I was too busy looking backwards to see that I had a new life in Connecticut and that I needed to frame the story from that perspective. And once I did and I changed the location to Connecticut, everything just started flowing and I had no more problems writing. So,
Awesome. Awesome, Miss Anna, and congratulations.
thank you.
So, what message were you hoping to convey through the book?
I want people to know that marriage is worth fighting for. And coming from someone who has had multiple marriages, I know you're probably laughing. But because of that struggle that I have had in the past of not having successful marriages, I feel like I have some value to share to people of what it takes to have a successful marriage. And that's what I hoped to portray in the book is what it takes to have a marriage that will last. So that's what I hope readers will take away from it.
Totally. I agree, Miss Anna. So, how did you come up with the title right away to say goodbye?
I had it from the very beginning, pretty much when I wanted to write the book. I don't remember how I came up with it, but I just knew that I had to keep it no matter what because it conveyed what I feel is the right way to say goodbye. Divorce is something that people so easily go into. They don't understand the significance of what comes after you have a divorce. There's so much more that happens, especially if you have children. But the right way to say goodbye to a spouse is what your vows say, which is until death do us part. That is the only real way to say goodbye to your spouse. And that's kind of the hidden meaning, I guess, of the title is the right way to say goodbye. The right way is what your vows say, which is until death do us part.
Yes. Till death do us part, people. Please do commit that
Yes.
commitment. But anyway, if you cannot, why not let it go, as they say? What does
Mhm.
goodbye mean in the context of this book?
In the context of this book, the main character is trying to save his marriage from his wife, who is estranged from him for 5 years. She has not been around for 5 years. He's trying to save it. So the goodbye is in 2 ways. It's her wanting to leave him because she's done with him for something that happened, but him wanting to save his marriage, and he doesn't wanna say goodbye, so they're kind of warring with each other, I guess,
Mhm.
their desires, and that's what I guess the meaning of goodbye would be in the book.
So, was there a particular scene that was emotionally difficult for you to write?
Mm. I did cry while writing the end. I really liked the ending. The whole thing itself was pretty emotional for me because I really try to put pieces of myself in the story itself. So, not necessarily that whatever you read in there is something that I did to try to save my marriage, but this story hit really close to home because I did try to save my marriage, but the story ends differently than my life did. But there was just a lot of emotion throughout the whole thing because I could feel what my main character was going through because I also went through that. So the whole thing was pretty much a big emotion.
Both are experience. So, what do you want readers to feel after finishing the book?
I want them to feel hopeful if they're in the middle of a marriage that seems hopeless. I want everyone to feel happy at the end of the story reading it and just content and maybe to reflect on their own marriages and see where perhaps they could fix things that they're doing wrong or the perspective of what they think their spouse is doing wrong. So just I want people to not leave the book going, "Oh, that was a wonderful book." Yes, I want them to say that, but I don't want that to just be it. I want them to take something away from that that is deeper that could help them in their marriage or help them if they're thinking of getting married even just to have an idea of this is what a commitment takes and you can do it. This is the steps you would take.
You can do it, people. Why, if Miss Anna can do it, why not you? So, who was your favorite character to write and why?
I like the main character, Dylan. I relate to him in several ways. He's the father and husband who's trying to save his marriage. I can relate to the angst he was having at first, trying to get his wife to even notice him, to care. And I related a lot to that. But another character that I love, and some other people who have read the book have told me they love, is the young son, Oliver. And he's just full of hope. He's a 5-year-old, so he's got hope on a string, and he's in love with everything. You know how kids are. They love unconditionally, and they're not tainted by the world and jaded by it. And he was just a fun character to have in the book, and he just brings a lightness to situations that are not so light.
So, Miss Anna, are there any literary influences or authors who inspired your writing style?
Uh, I don't know. I'm very visual, so a lot of what I write, I've gotten more inspiration from something I've watched, or characters from a movie, or actors or actresses. That's kinda how I get my mindset on what I want my characters to even look like, or how I want them to act. Is I go to the visual of, well, this is one of the actors that I like. I think he might, if this were gonna be a movie, I think this is who I would want to play it. And I kind of base things off of that, not necessarily the person and how they would do things, but just to have a visual in my head of who I think it should be. But as for literary, I usually read a lot more cozy mystery type novels, and I love cozy romance novels. So I don't have necessarily one specific author. I just take and choose from different things that I've read that I find interesting. I do have to say that I do love Jane Austen, so maybe that's a bit of an influence for me too.
Certainly. So, Miss Anna, how long did it take you to complete the manuscript of The Right Way to Say Goodbye?
It took about, yeah, 5 years, maybe longer, but it took at least 5 years to complete. I do believe I took some time off in between those 5 years to actually reflect and figure out why I wasn't able to write. So that's probably why it took 5 years. If I had just done it the way that God was wanting, it probably would have taken at least 3, maybe less. But sometimes we're stubborn and we want to do things the way we want to do.
True. Procrastinating sometimes, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did
Yes, procrastination is a
the
writer's best friend.
True. So did the story evolve as you wrote it, or did you stick to your original plan?
Oh, it evolved, I don't know how many times, but yeah, it evolved from beginning to end. It is nowhere close to what I expected it to be, what I thought it would be, who would be in it, who wouldn't be in it. I mean, I cut out some characters, I put in some characters. Yeah, it was ever changing, the whole process of writing.
So what challenges did you face during or writing or publishing process? Because you
Oh,
answer already the writing process. Let's talk about the
yeah.
publishing process.
Oh, self-publishing is not easy, but at first, when it first was published, it was published in 2020 through a company, and I won't say who it was because it wasn't the best of experiences. But that was a long and difficult process in and of itself, but they did not fulfill the way they should have, considering what they said they would and the amount financially that I had to put into it. So that was disconcerting for me, But then when I decided to self-publish, that was a whole new thing that I had no idea how to do, but I did it through KDP and they were pretty helpful on how to make that work. But that was a struggle. It but it also grew me as a person and I learned some new tips and ideas and things on what to do. I I learned more and I'm happy with the product. I know that I did my best with it. And yes, it took a lot longer, but I took away some different things that I wrote down in notes so that next time I publish another book, it won't be as much of a learning curve for me because I've already done it and I know what I'm doing now. So, yeah.
Yes, you need to learn from your mistake, people.
Yes,
It's
yes,
okay, it's okay to commit mistake, people. Don't be afraid because you will learn from it. So how do
yes.
readers typically react to the ending of the book?
They definitely like the ending, and they're always asking me, "Is there a sequel?" And I'm happy to say that I am working on a sequel to it. I just like I
Yes.
said, procrastination is a writer's best friend, so between the writing and having my children and the podcast, finding time has been slim, but I am working on a sequel for it, but yeah, everyone seems to really like the ending and want to know what happens with the young boy, so that's where I'm going with the second one.
Looking forward for that, Miss Anna. And please do come back on Book 101 review
Yes.
and let's talk
I would
about
love
it.
to. I would love to.
Yes. So, if your book were to be adapted into a movie or a series, who would you cast in the lead roles?
Well, I have accepted the fact that they probably won't for several reasons, but, mostly because they probably will age out, but I've always thought of, um, Tom Felton. He played Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies. I've always thought of him as my main character for Dylan, the, man who's trying to save his marriage, and for my female actress, I'm not really sure. I have never been able to pin that down. Uh, it's really hard. There's so many good actresses out there. I'm not sure who I would choose because, yeah, there's several of them that are out there that are brilliant and would probably do the character of Marley justice. So,
Well, looking forward for that, Miss Anna. I hope it will be a series on Netflix or whatever streaming platform. The right way to say goodbye. So, Miss Anna, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Music 101, and its third season. People, third season with Mr. Jim Smith. So please do listen to our latest episode. We are talking about, if I'm not mistaken, the Beatles itself. So please do
mm.
listen, Music 101, wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Anna, what advice would you give to someone who is struggling to say goodbye in their own life?
I would say don't give up on anything that you think is worth fighting for. There's going to be hard times, there's going to be challenges in life, and you don't want to give up easily. You don't want to let go too soon. Uh, there's a saying that my pastor has, if you're not dead, then you're not done. And there's things for each of us to do. There's a purpose for our lives, there's a purpose for your marriage. And aside from any sort of abuse or unsafe environment where you need to leave your marriage, I think marriage is worth fighting for if you can make it work, and your life is worth fighting for. Don't give up.
Don't give up, people. Miss Ana Murby, thank you so much for sharing the right way to say goodbye. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Yes, you can find it on Amazon. You can go to The Right Way to Say Goodbye, Ana Murby, type all of that into the search bar and you'll find it. Or you can just go to my website, honestchristianconversations.com, and up top there's a books link in the navigation bar.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Ana Murby because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Anna, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
More to come, people. See you soon.